You are just...
Hey, hello, are we on? Welcome, everybody, to
Testing.
In the Huddle Show 2. We know you're on the team because you're watching, so you're already in the huddle. Tell your friends. Here we go. Show number 2, and we're outside. More on that in a moment. Welcome to In the Huddle. I'm Vance Palm. This is Stan Greene. That's Trevor Horn. Well, we're going to jump right into the first quarter. We had a kickoff last year because last show, which feels like a year ago, but last show we had a kickoff, so to speak, but we're going right into the first quarter now. Stan, the response... Hey, that's your phone,
That's your
bro.
phone, bro.
I'll turn it down. I'm blaming.
I love how the big boss is blaming everybody else except for himself.
I'm looking around for that audio. I'm looking at our director, Alex. She's looking at me. I'm looking around. Who is it?
It's
You're the
you.
guy.
Hey, that happened to me last year at a rally, too, or a national anthem.
Oof.
Yeah, it was bad.
He's the guy that, like, at a funeral or a wedding or something very important, would look around mad at somebody and go, oh, it's me. Okay.
Sorry.
What's wrong with that guy?
I apologize.
Intro to the show, take 2. Welcome
Okay,
to the
right.
Huddle, everybody. I'm Vance Palm. That's Silent Stan Greene. Terrific Trevor Horn, our director, Alex. She's back to breathing normal again, and we're outside. Stan, before we get into anything with regards to sports this week, what's up with the outside gig?
Oh, well, we couldn't fit. So, I tried to get a bigger office built in the last 5 days, and they told me no. And so we went for an 8-foot table, and then we had a circular table, and then my awesome secretary, Deanna, went and bought these 2 6-foot tables, and we set it up, and this is going to be perfect.
Trevor, I know we're separated only by just a few feet. I hope that you can deal with that anxiety because you and I are so symbiotic together in everything we do. Let's jump in. Stan, the reaction last week, the response last week to In the Huddle, without sounding self-serving, we were thrilled for all of the feedback, all of the input. I mean, from your social platform to mine to yours. I happened to be at a couple social events afterwards. I know you were out scouring fields and volleyball courts and heard about it. We had a lot of great feedback. Why don't you touch on it, and then I'll take it from there.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, just the number of people that texted or sent me an email or something on Facebook, it was mind-blowing to me how many people have such an interest in this. And after the show, you know, we sat around and kind of talked about this is just the ground floor. It's just going to get better. And, man, it's an animal. It's going to turn into a beast.
We talked about, you know, we have 2 shows, Trevor. This is our first Monday 1 o'clocker to kind of get things going for the week because so much happens in the course of a week that by the time we get to the weekend, by the time we get to Thursday games, Friday games, we're in it, we're here. Those are your quintessential prediction shows and things like that. But Trevor, from your standpoint, and you're also, congratulations, kudos, you're on one of the major networks doing a Sunday night show. You're on fire. But from this standpoint, I know you had to hear about it.
Oh, of course. And, you know, it's nothing but positive reviews from people that, you know, we're in an age right now where I think people are wanting more and more information, and we're finding that there are less and less outlets for it and more maybe misinformation or just not complete information. And so I think that that's where we step in and give, like Coach Littlejohn says, give the people what they want. And that's, you know, giving them the proper information, bringing in coaches, bringing in slides, showing highlights, explaining exactly like the new divisions in football. I'm sure that 90% of people that love high school football in the central section probably don't understand that, but that's what we're here for, is to provide that proper information, be the best channel for them to get all the information about everything going on with Kern High athletics.
Stan, there are some things in the works. And I know you might not want to be, you know, too divulgent in everything that we possibly could be breaking out with, but there are some exciting, you know, new adaptations just to the one show we've already done that could possibly come down the road here. Care to say anything, or you want to just hold off?
Are you in the jar of tough questions already?
Yeah, what is that?
Are you in that?
What is that?
Ladies and gentlemen, our first guest ever will be coming on the set. Right now he's catching rays. Our first guest ever will be coming on the set here in the second quarter, and it's head coach of the Highland Scotsman. And
his name is Mike Gutierrez, by the way.
Well, you know, I like to do, you know, presentation introductions when my guests come on, but you're going to get a jar of tough questions yourself.
Yeah.
The JOTQs. We will unseal the first JOTQs for head coach Mike Gutierrez when he comes back, the jar of tough questions. So, yeah, it's somewhat of a tough question for you.
Yeah. So, I mean, to answer your question, you know, we've talked about this and about the goals, where we want to go. You know, ultimately, we'd like to be on a high school campus at lunchtime the day of the game of the week. And That may happen this week. It may be a couple weeks out. It's interesting as we talk about the feedback we got. A sponsor inboxed me over the weekend.
I would
said,
think so.
Hey, how do we get involved? we want you to do X, Y, and Z. And so we're in a situation where we go, okay.
Sign a blank check.
Yeah, I know. It's a little more to it than that. And we got to make sure it's on brand for what we want from the Kern High Network. And so I'm supposed to talk to them this week, but we could have some other stuff going on as well after the game. So I'm kind of excited about just the unlimited possibilities.
We're in the first quarter of In the Huddle. Last week, Trevor, we left this show. You got back to work. You hit the fields. You were out at scrimmages. I know you were as well. There were some volleyball matches going on. Snapshot review of everything that you soaked in. It had to be a great vibe. It's that time of year.
It is. And, you start to feel the crowd environment. You start seeing the players come out and hitting somebody other than themselves. And I went out to 3 different scrimmages. Was fortunate enough to see, 7 teams, because it was a 3-way scrimmage Friday night at North High. So it's good to see the fans out there. It's good to see.
That was last week.
Oh, yeah. I get that. I went to the Kern Valley and Foothill at North. It was nice to see 2 new head coaches within the district. And then Kern Valley, and I talked to Scott Dedman there for a few minutes before the scrimmage, and, just talking about the resiliency of his team. And, while he only had 2 players, which happened to be brothers on his team, that were affected by the boreal fire, those 2 young men were at practice the next day. Sadly, they were not in their homes when it went down. I say sadly because they lost everything because they weren't able to go into the house. But the resiliency, and that's what high school athletics is great for, too, when you think about it, is those guys had an outlet. Those 2 young men had an outlet to go to when dealing with real life tragedy. And that's the great thing about athletics. But I talked to Scott, and he just said, the air quality took a little toll on them and different things of that nature. But he's like, the kids were resilient and ready to play some football and really get out there. And they look good. They got a nice little quarterback. And it was nice to see Adam Levinson at North High. Nice to see Chris Weddle over at Foothill. And then Thursday, Stan was there Friday night as well. And then over at East High, watching Independence and East High take on in the scrimmage last week. And then Wednesday was Highland hosting Liberty. So a lot of good action across the board here in town. And it just kind of wets the whistle knowing that we're 3 days away from the regular season. 3 days.
Stan, big week ahead of us, as he just said, 3 days away. Our shows on Thursday that we're going to have, as everybody know, that will be our quintessential prediction show. We'll get a little bit deeper into the weeds as far as matchups and who's playing who and what league and kind of where we are and who we think is going to pull it off. But in a general sense, from your desk and your computer, Thursday is going to be here like in a heartbeat. Big first weekend for you as the Director of School Support Services with everything going on, cheerleaders, all the structure that goes into opening night, yeah?
Oh, for sure. But, more importantly, everything starts.
You're right.
So, we've got cross country, golf, volleyball, tennis, football.
Water polo.
Yeah, water polo starts, I think, Friday or Saturday the 22nd.
It's Friday and Saturday down at the
So everything starts. And for me, my biggest sigh of relief is the forecasted temperature. It's not hot. So it's not, it's with our new guidelines, it could turn into a nightmare instantly. We could be in situations if it's hot where we're not kicking a varsity game off until 7:30, 8 o'clock, 8:30, which means the JV game doesn't even happen. And so we're really worried about that. I met with the Officials Association this morning. Randy Blake came in, and we talked about contingency plans. And we've got some. They're not great, but, it's better than not having a game at all.
The biggest smile of this whole group is from the head coach of the Highland Scotsman when you said we're going to have good weather because he gets to go and be right on time. Speaking of being right on time, we will take our first break. When we come back, it's the second quarter. The game of the week that we're calling on the Kern High Network is East at Highland. The Highland Scotsman head coach is here. In the second quarter, it's going to be orthodox questions to a football coach. In the third quarter, it's going to be the jar of tough questions. You watching In the Huddle, back right after this.
Valley Strong's youth accounts help kids practice earning and spending in the real world.
So, my rate for dishes is going up with inflation.
Oh, is it?
Blame the economy.
Because when we plant financial literacy young, it grows the rest of their lives.
Now, too.
Valley Strong's accounts help kids practice earning and spending in the real world.
So, my rate for dishes is going up. With inflation.
Oh, is it?
Blame the economy!
Because when we plant financial literacy young, it grows the rest of their lives.
Welcome back, everybody. You're in the huddle with Vance Palm, Stan Greene, Trevor Horn. Trevor, introduce that good-looking guy sitting next to you, out of the Mountain League.
Never met him before.
The
Actually,
Valley
out
League.
of the Valley League.
Right, but playing against the Mountain League this Friday night. Give us the intro.
Well, here it is. Mike Gutierrez now in year 9, right?
11.
11?
Wow.
11 years, and he still looks young. I'll give him that. So, Mike Gutierrez, longtime head coach at Highland High, has done some great things already. You guys looked fantastic on Wednesday. Gave yourselves an extra 9 days to prepare for Friday night. Mike, just kind of talk about, how this team kind of geared up and how you guys are getting ready for Friday night.
Well, first I want to say thanks for having me. This is really cool what you guys are doing. I know you guys said you got some good feedback, and I was able to watch your guys' first episode the other day, and it is nice of just the exposure that we get as, for our teams and the athletes. And so, yeah, we appreciate you guys doing this. We're excited for the year. I think we didn't realize how young we were last year until we went to senior night, and we had 9-10 guys that we were honoring that night. And we unfortunately had a bunch of injuries that guys got more reps than probably would have expected. But I think in the end, it benefits us this year. So between that, returning some guys who are some key pieces, we're really excited to put kind of the whole story together come Friday night.
And here we are Friday night. It's a matchup we haven't seen in 3 years. It's the old East Side rivalry. The Southeast Yosemite League is back again Friday night. How excited are you to get that East Side rivalry against the Blades?
I think it's just a great environment to start our season. Part of the reason we set up our schedule the way that we did was knowing we were going to have tough games every week. And so for us, we could say it'd be some type of playoff environment. And in this case, just having a loud crowd, playing a team that you grew up with all the guys down the street, it should be a very good experience. So we're excited to get that rivalry going again, and just being able just to have the big crowd that we know it brings.
When you look at your team, what are the big things that you're really excited about, whether it's a specialty group, a set of individuals? What is it that really kind of gets you excited about the 2024 season?
I think last year we had our strength defense was our defensive line. And we're bringing a lot of those guys back, and then we have some new guys like Arnez Lee is going to join the fold. And I think just the speed and strength that they have there can be something that's good for us. And I think we really lacked just overall speed last year. We have that with Austin Hernandez back with us. Tino Callaway has added some speed. Preston Mendez being a year older at quarterback, even though he's only a sophomore now. Just having that experience and getting him having a year in the weight room brings some speed at that position too. So I think those two things are things that we're really excited to kind of see it in play with kind of where we ended last year.
Okay.
So last year you had 9 seniors, you said?
I believe it was 9 or 11.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
How many seniors do you have this year? Because you have a sophomore quarterback.
Yes.
So are you relatively young? Are you sophomore, junior heavy? Or are you senior heavy with the sophomore?
I think we're pretty balanced. I mean, we're I think O-line, we're more senior heavy this year. I mean, we have I think 2 juniors playing. We have 2 others who've kind of been rotating through camps. We had guys banged up. But we have Johnny Brucker, Nick Gonzalez, Austin Hernandez, all seniors. So, we're going to have, for sure probably 6-7 guys that are seniors who kind of are mainstays for us. But I think for us, the benefit is we have a lot of depth at our skill spots, and that's something we're really excited about.
That's super.
Being able to rotate some guys.
How about the numbers in your entire program? Because you have 3 levels.
Yes.
Only about half our schools have 3 levels of football. Are you heavy, or you have enough to maintain 3 levels all year, or what's it looking like?
Yeah, we've been so fortunate. I tell everyone that, unfortunately, schools had to go to 2 levels, and we've been blessed to have 3. And I think for us, we know we're in a tough league. It's going to be a battle every week, but I say we've not only earned the right to be here, but also just numbers alone, we have to be here.
Yeah.
Because we have 3 levels. And I think 2-3 years ago, our JV team basically played the River League for their league schedule because no one in our league had 3 levels. But we're about 140, 150 kids. We're about 40 to 45 on our varsity roster, around 40 on our JV, and we're pushing 60 on the freshman level. So, yeah, we've been very fortunate to maintain steady numbers.
That's super.
Speaking with head coach Mike Gutierrez, the Highland Scotsman, before we go to break, last week we had our intro show in the Huddle, and we started kind of just looking at all the different leagues. Trevor made a great point. We concurred. What a lead to make some noise this year, if for nothing else, the last name of all these head coaches. You look at the coaching ranks, and all of them are great in every league, but this is pretty interesting. You've got Carr, you've got Sheehy, you've got Gola at Independence, and then, of course, yourself and a new coach at Ridgeview. This is shaping up to be quite a chessboard move of coaches. Your thoughts on your colleagues that you'll be going against across the field?
Yeah, I think just the league with the athletes that we have, and then the coaching minds you put back there, I think you guys said, just every week can be some of the best games in town, if not in the section. And that's what kind of makes it fun, because that every game can be have ramifications come playoffs, come league titles. And I mean, we were fortunate 2 years ago. I think we finished 2nd. Last year we finished, I believe, 4th. It can change quickly, but again, it's going to be very competitive, and I think that's what makes it fun, because every week it could be a toss-up depending on what the situation is, who's banged up, who's not, and what week you happen to get them.
Very competitive league.
Did you see how tight his jawline got when you
Yeah,
asked him about that? Is a tough league,
dude,
man.
He gave me a look, dude. He's like, hey, Vance, it's only Monday, dude.
Yeah, that's a tough league.
So I want to double back to something that Mike was talking about, and that's the numbers in football. The CIF state office put out the demographics, and football is actually back on the rise for the first time in about 6 years. Do you see the effects of COVID kind of waning, and kids are coming back out and being more active and getting back into sports like football now that they may not have been doing in the previous 2, 3, 4 years? And Stan, you can chime in on this as well.
Sure. We could probably do a whole show on that.
Yeah. Let's do 2 minutes.
Okay.
I keep
I'll let him go first.
keep taking notes on what you guys say we should do shows on, so it's another one.
I'll let Mike go
Yeah,
first, and then I'll
please,
talk to you
Mike.
from
I
a
mean-
district.
Yeah, I think for us, again, we've been fortunate with our numbers being very high, even during that COVID season. For when we had two teams that year, and that's what we all agreed to, I mean, we were still 80, 90 kids. So we've been very fortunate that I don't think it's affected us. I think the main thing we've seen is, I'm trying to think the right word, not necessarily commitment, but the attitude, or I guess less hesitation of, hey, you know what, I need to be at practice. I need to, I guess I could say the commitment level has starting to gone back to what it was before. It used to be, hey, you have little sniffles, I'm staying home, let's all be careful. And I think sometimes it's allergies, and people are accepting that now. So, so I think you've seen some normalcy like that. I think even just classroom-wise, the attitude of the students, even the young men we coach, the maturity from them and having been in school for so long, rather than, 2 years ago, I teach a freshman summer school class, and we had guys who had never been to junior high.
Yeah,
that were coming into high school, and that was a whole different thing. So I think just
Never
guys
stepped on a
having-
campus. Think about that.
My son, he went to 2 weeks of Actus, didn't go to his 8th grade year at all, goes to BHS, like, wow, it's school again. Yeah.
So I think just kind of, you see that maturity, or that kind of street smart from just being around their peers and being in school, I think is starting to get back to the norm too. So I think that's not affecting us. But number-wise, we've been fortunate to have pretty consistent numbers.
It's good.
So we saw a massive decline right before COVID because of the NFL settlement with concussions. And that kind of caused quite a drop-off. And then, of course, COVID hit, and we had less people come out. And a lot of it probably had to do with the kid didn't get to play as an 8th grader in Golden Empire or something like that. So maybe they've been a little afraid to come out.
Or just lost interest.
Yeah. And that's it. We've seen a lot of that from the district office perspective on football in particular.
But do you see from the district office that there is an uptick?
I'd have to go pull the numbers for you. It's not incredible, I'll tell you that much, especially when you think about the fact that over half our schools only have 2 levels. And almost all of our ADs and coaches know that the minute you drop the 2 levels, you're giving your program a death sentence. You'll never recover. We have had a school recover, but generally speaking, you will not recover once you go to 2 levels because you have an entire freshman group of kids that probably won't start against sophomores. So you got 22 starting spots, essentially, and you got kids that won't start and they'll just quit.
Well, and I found that the biggest attrition is between your freshman and your sophomore year because for 2 reasons. If you're on the Frosh-Soft team and you go up to the JV team and you don't make it, you kind of lose interest. Or if you're a freshman and you're put into JV right away and you don't ever see the field, you lose interest as well. Do you see that? Do you see any of that happening with you guys?
You know, I think kind of what Stan mentioned of freshmen losing interest, not getting on the field. I think in general, as kids age, they start kind of, if they're not playing, they definitely lose the interest. For us, kind of our philosophy has always been that our JV team's our second most important team. So we will pull freshmen up to our JV team. And part of it is if we have holes, I want to get freshmen playing as much as possible. And then that also allows other freshmen to play on the freshman level. So, rather than have, as Stan said, there's, 22 spots, it may only be, 30 kids contributing. Well, now we may have 35 freshmen playing because 5 are up on the JV team.
Yeah.
I know
awesome.
when I started, I always say I started as a JV coach. That's where I kind of dug my heels in. And I tell people, we have 40 kids on our JV team now. I had one year we finished with 16 guys. Foothill, we had some years we had low 20s. If you hit 30, that was a big JV team. And so, I think for us, that's kind of where we started shaping that mentality of let's get freshmen up, let's get them playing, get more freshmen playing, because a lot of times after their freshman year, kids didn't play. So you lose that now with the JV team. So you build the numbers through them and you give more freshmen a chance to play.
Well, one of the best parts of the story that we're hearing the narrative from you is we're going to see a big-time program Friday night at Highland. East goes up to Highland, Scotland Yard, and for those of you that are going to be there, you already know about the vibe. For those of you that are going to watch it on the Kern High Network, trust me, we talk about it every year that we're on the air there. I think Dr. Van Horn will be with me. Rick Van Horn is calling the game, the Kern High Network Game of the Week. East at Highland. It's going to be a very, very wild event, always is. He comes prepared. His teams come prepared. The school's always prepared. The administration does an amazing job there. It's going to be a fun night. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about the game specifically, and then we open up the first ever
Pandora's box?
Jar of tough questions. We'll be right back in the huddle.
Valley Strong's youth accounts help kids practice earning and spending in the real world.
So, my rate for dishes is going up with inflation.
Oh, is it?
Blame the economy.
Because when we plant financial literacy young, it grows the rest of their lives. Valley Strong's youth accounts help kids practice earning and spending in the real world.
So, my rate for dishes is going up with inflation.
Oh, is it?
Blame the economy.
Because when we plant financial literacy young, it grows the rest of their lives.
Welcome back to In the Huddle. I sure hope Alex turns down all our volume during these breaks because it gets pretty gnarly in here with the back and forth.
Gnarly, dude.
Stan Greene, Trevor Horn, and our very special guest, our first guest of this inaugural show is head coach of the Highland Scotsmen, Mike Gutierrez. Coach, before we get into the jar of tough questions, Friday night you are the Kern High Network Game of the Week. East coming up to your neighborhood. We've talked about the East High rivalry. Man, I called a lot of games up there. Some memorable East Highland rivalry games, some of the great ones, and too many memories to go into, but it's a fun atmosphere. Walk us through your Friday from about noon to kickoff.
Usually I think we hit lunch like at 12:09. We have our team lunch, go in, finish my day teaching, try to, on my prep, get whatever I can as far as just, final, whether it be game plans, ready sheets, special team stuff. Usually go down, set up our end zone camera, some of the technology we need. If I'm lucky, I get a little nap in after school.
Wow.
But it doesn't always happen.
Wow.
And
Do you have young kids, Mike?
I
Yes,
do.
he does.
Yes.
You're not getting a
7
nap
and
at the
4.
house.
Yeah, but
right?
I just can't.
Yeah, but if
always-
they're in school, he can go back to the house when it's nice and quiet.
As somebody that intense, I just don't see being able to shut it down, but I'm wrong.
Hey, sometimes you got to recharge, and that's one thing I've always branded myself on, of being able to take a nap real quick.
I am a
It's 5
huge
minutes,
fan of
so.
naps.
Well,
Huge
that we know because I can't get you at a certain time of the day. You don't answer nothing, man. I'm having urgent tech questions. And
Leave a message at the beep.
okay, jar of tough questions time. This whole segment was given a lot of thought, Mike. We put a lot of time and energy into the jar of tough questions. Stan, you pull them out. I'll read them. That way we can tell that there's nothing. But get ready because you're going to be pulling them all out.
I'll write this down.
What 2 teams will play in the 2025 Super Bowl and who wins? Don't forget, it's Carr's neighborhood now, New Orleans. What 2 teams will play in the 2025 Super Bowl and who wins? Coach Gutierrez.
Futures bet.
I'd say I watch very little NFL football, I'd say, because that's usually when I'm breaking down film, so I can't be your best. But I would say
Worst first answer of all time for.
I would say, just off the top of my head, you can't bet against Mahomes.
Okay, so
you
Chiefs for
have
the
to go
AFC.
Chiefs. I feel like the 49ers have just been consistent, but can they win the big game?
So we're gonna do a redo.
I'm a softie for Dan Campbell, man. I love everything he does.
Oh, so
I would love to see the Lions do it, but I think, I think those 2 are probably your heavy favorites. Green Bay is probably going to be a dark horse. If Jordan can keep growing the way he has, I think that there's a good chance they can do some good things. But
jar of tough questions. Who wins the Super Bowl?
we'll stay generic and just say the Chiefs.
Chiefs win a Super Bowl over. For a guy that doesn't watch the NFL, like
Wait, aren't we all answering this question? Oh, man, I got a great answer for this one.
Hey, like I said, I have a jar of tough questions for you. Mike Gutierrez, what will your players say is your biggest no-no?
Oh, man, they'll have so many. I'd tell them all the time.
The biggest one. What's the one?
OCD on stuff. Man, I think it's, just simple things of having your gear right, making sure your shoulder pads are fully covered, making sure your knees are covered.
Taking off
your
the
socks being
tinted,
a certain way.
taking off the tinted lenses on there.
And even though some of that's just basic rules, I mean, I think they know in practice, just don't even test it then.
I got a football question. I haven't been in the game for a long time, obviously, but I remember when we played, you would get in your game uniform and then take it off piece by piece and put it in your bag for the next day. Did you guys still do that?
I mean, I did something similar. Just, you got it all ready right away, and you had it. I mean, but yeah, these days
you still have guys forget stuff, show up at a game.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we,
high
again,
level
we're pretty particular. They have to wear a certain pair of shorts on game day. When we go for our team meetings and down the field, and there's still guys, Coach, I need to buy shorts. Coach, I don't have this. Coach, I don't have my socks.
So the biggest no-no for you is if you're not prepared, you better come prepared, right? Remember Bill Walton used to talk about how John Wooden, for the first week of practice, no basketballs and how to put the socks on so he wouldn't get blisters. Okay, jar of tough questions. Question number 3.
We need a computer and randomize this stuff.
As random as I can get.
This is a good one.
Toughest dude you ever played with and against at any level. At any level. Toughest dude you ever played with, teammate, and against. Could be at any level.
So that I played with, and I would say it's actually Anthony Hernandez. His son's actually Austin, which is kind of funny that I'm coaching Austin. But I just remember Anthony was just something special.
Tell us about him.
He just running back, safety, physical, fast. He was the guy, and that was kind of, I think, the end of kind of some of those storied foothill teams that Permitter had. But he was a special player.
Tough
Same rubber band ankles like his son has.
Yeah, he was a lot bigger. I mean, maybe because I was 15 at the time, I thought he was bigger, but I think he was a lot bigger than Austin was. But
toughest dude you played against.
Against.
Everybody has I grew up in Arvin, and I always used to hear, dude, I have never been hit in my life as hard as Keith Greider or someone along those lines. You know, you had somebody that toughest dude played against.
You know, I'm trying to think. I think, you know, the North High team with some of those Sasso brothers. I think, you know, we had Ojukwu, the running back from Stockdale years ago. BHS had a couple guys that, I remember one year, they were just dudes that, I mean, I was 50 pounds lighter and probably 4 inches shorter than everyone on there and on their roster that was on the field. So,
because Trevor, they always say, remember that welcome to the NFL moment or welcome to the NBA moment. So you're sure one of those guys laid something on you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, those driller teams were something else back then.
Jar of tough questions. Only 2 left. Only 2 left. Oh, I know what this last one is. That's going to be phenomenal. It was supposed to be the first one in that jar. And
Don't shake it up.
Well, no. Well, I did shake it up.
Stan.
That's crazy. That's going to be the last question in there, and I know what it is. Okay, Mike, what is your number one thing of procrastinating? Will you personally put off? And the reason we ask the question, because you're so put together, your teams are so put together, we're looking for flaws, brother. We're looking for flaws. Your number one procrastination.
I would say probably laundry.
Wait a minute. For your kids, that you better have all your stuff together.
Yeah.
For me, I'm not going to watch till Friday night.
Yeah, I think, and part of it's just, you know, my wife's the one load's done, let's fold it right away. For me, let's get 5 loads, and I can throw on a show, throw on film, and let's go at it. But
and run the
I
electricity
feel like
bill up.
I do my best not to procrastinate, but I would say that's one thing I definitely
Okay.
take my time on.
Jar of tough questions, and it ends up being the last question. It was supposed to be the opener, and it ends up being the closer. Wow. You talk about a dramatic, climactic finish. Flour or corn tortillas?
I think it varies what you're having it with.
See, exactly. I agree.
Yeah.
All right.
So a burrito,
question.
you want a flour. For
All
a
right.
taco, you want a corn.
Shrimp fajitas.
Yeah.
I would go corn.
Okay. Very good.
Fajitas? Corn?
Yeah.
Okay.
Trevor, your last opportunity for Coach Gutierrez as we wrap up this segment with him. We thank him for his time.
You talk about this senior class, but there's one guy that I want to talk about in particular. That's Frank Wright. What is he really like? He just kind of looks the part of an old school defensive end, and what he can do for your team, and how much do you guys lean on him, on his experience with this team and the leadership that he brings?
Yeah, I was standing next to him in practice, and I told Josh Abater, our line coach, said Frank's just a big dude. He is just massive, and he's maybe one of the best athletes that we've had come through Highland in a while, and just such a nice kid that he's still kind of finding himself and who he is. And last year had a great season for us, worked his butt off in the weight room, and you know, just he's that guy that he's in pain, you'll never know it because he won't say a word, and then you talk to him later, well, this, that, you know, and you're like, man, let's take care of you. But no, coach, I'm good. And so you love guys like that.
Yeah, very much.
Are always going to give you everything they got. So we're very fortunate to have him, and I think he's going to be kind of the spark for our D-line that guys know they got to match that intensity, they got to match that level of play, and then just because he's so great at what he does, it helps protect our linebackers too. So it just means he's such a special player for us.
And he's in there on offense as well, right?
Yeah,
As
this
a
year
H-back tight end.
he's grown quite a bit. Where now he's playing some H-back for us, and again he's so dang strong that if sometimes we think if we can get him matched 1-on-1 that it can help us quite a bit of letting our linemen go block other guys, and he can take care of a guy by himself.
Bigger than linebackers, faster than safeties.
Yeah.
Yep, that's awesome.
Stan?
So speaking of special, 12 years ago, you were the JV coach at Foothill High School. And I remember the job comes open at Highland. The principal calls me and says, hey, I want to run a name by you. And I said, sure. And so she's like, Mike Gutierrez. I go, who the heck is Mike Gutierrez? I had no idea, but you were 25, 26. I said, I don't know. Let me make a couple calls. I made a couple calls, and they raved about you. And I guess there's a long way for me to tell you that we're proud of you, man. You're doing an awesome job. And 12 years ago, I'm like, I don't know who that guy is, but I think everybody knows who you are now, and you're doing fantastic.
No, I appreciate that. And I tell people that first off, I was going to thank my wife for letting me do this. She's amazing, and and now with my kids. But Ms. Vikstrom took a chance on me at 27 years old, and we were fortunate to bring a good staff up to Highland that we've been able to kind of maintain and add some more guys throughout the year. So we've been lucky. We got in the right spot, and we've been fortunate to allow this thing to work out.
So have you done any swimming yet in your pool over there at Highland?
Is there water in it?
Done some of the dirt that's piling up from the construction. But
wow.
hopefully soon we can get in that pool because it'll be nice.
That's going to be a nice place.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
going to be very nice. We'll have a race.
Yeah.
The four of us.
Oh, I
Live
look forward to
stream.
that. I look forward to that. Well, one of the preeminent coaches in our valley, and he is in the Valley League, and it's going to be a tough one, and we want to thank him so much for his time. We appreciate coming over here. We look forward to Friday night. Mike Gutierrez, thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
We'll be back in the huddle right after
Ciao, Mike.
this.
Valley Strong's youth accounts help kids practice earning and spending in the real world.
So, my rate for dishes is going up with inflation.
Oh, is it?
Blame the economy.
Because when we plant financial literacy young, it grows the rest of their lives. Valley Strong's youth accounts help kids practice earning and spending in the real world.
So, my rate for dishes is going up with inflation.
Oh, is it?
Blame the economy.
Because when we plant financial literacy young, it grows the rest of their lives.
Welcome back to In the Huddle. Vance Palm, Stan Greene, Trevor Horn.
Nice catch.
What a great interview. Let's do a quick wrap up on Mike. And by the way, I grew up in Arvin. It was Gutierrez. It was always Gutierrez. And then I got on the air, started calling a lot of these sports, and they was like, "Hey, it's Gutierrez." I said, "All right, take it easy." So Gutierrez. What a class act.
Since I stepped in the door, Mike's been at Highland, and he's been a phenomenal human being the whole way through. I remember one year, I don't know, about 8 years ago, he even had me come and do MC one of their fundraisers, and just the community and the aspect that he has over there and the tie-ins that he has with that campus and that community is just phenomenal. He's a wonderful human being and one of those head coaches that you love to have in this city.
Call to action that we had in our show last week, Stan, was about officials and getting more officials. Since we did the call to action, maybe it's just because my eyes and ears are in tune to it. I see an interview on Channel 17. One of our major networks did an interview with Brian Landis and getting some more guys out. I saw Steven Yaksich over the weekend, another longtime official.
That's an Arvin Bear.
Exactly right. And, just started kind of talking to him. And he said, it's getting better. It's getting there. But I don't know that we'll stop this call to action for a long time, right?
No, I think this is just an ongoing deal.
Right.
I mean, you think about most of our officials are seasoned.
Yeah.
And, we don't have any young seasoners in the till there. And we need to get some in there. I met with Randy Blade, the head of the KCOA this morning. He and I had a chat here. And he told me that since that posting went out last week on the Kern High Network, that he's had, I think he said 10 or 12 new officials.
Wow.
He actually went on and on about a kid whose dad I know that signed up. And I'm like, that is the perfect one right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so it's promising, it's got some potential.
I did like those 3 scrimmages that I was out at last week, that there was a lot of, Vance. I don't know if I'm ready, but there was a lot of tutorial. You had the veteran officials out there working hand in hand and really going over the fine-tuned details with the rookie, if you will, the rookie official. So we're in a place where we might be close to normalcy again.
Good. Okay.
Yeah, I hope so.
This Thursday, big man, what time are we going to go? Do we know yet this Thursday?
2:00.
Okay,
2:00.
Okay, so we have our first change. We're going to go 2:00 in the huddle. 2:00 this Thursday in the huddle. And this is an in the huddle you definitely want to be dialed in on, because we're going to go through week 1 and all that it has to offer, with predictions, with matchups, with everything, and
17 games.
And I hear we may have our other host that plays hooky from 12 to noon every week, right?
Yeah, we made a mistake on the scheduling of this, and we kind of overlapped the show that he's in. So he will be here on Thursday. He assured me that he will be here.
The Dean of Local Sports, Greg Kerr, our other host, will be with us.
A Hall of Famer.
We're going to roll through a bunch, but we want to at least get a snapshot of what's coming up, Trevor, this Thursday and Friday. A very quick week 1 kind of not really a whole preview, but a snapshot of what catches your eye, what catches your ear of this Thursday, Friday, and then on Thursday's show at 2:00, we're going to go deep into the weeds with it.
I'd like to even go even further starting tomorrow. That we've got volleyball games. Liberty went out and beat Arroyo Grande last week, and this is the team that went to the semifinals, lost to SLO, and they get to play SLO tomorrow night out on the coast. So that's going to be a Division I semifinal rematch. And then the Patriots get Clovis East at home, so they get to see how they match up with the track school. So that'd be really good to see in the volleyball world. Centennial starts off. That's them and Stockdale with two teams that went to the D2 semifinals last year, and they're both in action again this week. We've got girls tennis starting off tomorrow with Centennial at Golden Valley and East at Highland. Wednesday, we've got some action. We got Del Oro is going out of town, going up to McFarland. And then Thursday is kind of the big one. Girls tennis, it's the annual SYL versus track challenge. So the schools from Fresno, Clovis, and I think they even pull in like randomly like a Redwood or alma mater in there.
Best high school in the state.
And they bring them down.
I thought somebody opened the door. I thought I heard something. Anyway, keep going.
That might be his final paycheck blowing through the door with that statement.
Hey, come on now.
But, I mean, it's a big. And then Friday, you've got South volleyball kickoff is a great big tournament that the Spartans put on. Water polo kind of starts off in earnest Friday and Saturday with the Frontier tournament down at the Aquatic Center.
Right.
But, I mean,
and that's non-football.
That's non-football. And then we've got two games on Thursday night. Including Ridgeview hosting South, two district teams. So that's a game I'll be at. I'm excited about, being out there week 1, night 1, and then we start in earnest Friday night. I mean, there's games all over in and out of town, and so it'll be really enjoyable. And then we've got one Saturday night football game with Frontier going out of town up on Highway 50 in El Dorado Hills against the Oak Ridge Trojans. And a head coach that Kern County is, that they know quite well in Casey Taylor because he played his Del Oro team in the state playoffs 3 times against Kern High School District teams.
I didn't realize he was over there.
Yeah, he was the Del Oro coach that lost to BHS,
right?
Beat Liberty, and then beat BHS.
And then he's now at El Dorado.
He's at Oak Ridge now, which is actually his alma mater.
Oh,
He was at Del Oro for about 15 years, and then during COVID, he went to a private school. It didn't work out. They didn't play football that year. And then he went over to a public school. And then the job opening at his alma mater came up. And you guys know how that is. Your alma mater comes calling. And you're like, yeah, I think I need to give this a chance. And Oak Ridge is always a hotbed. They got a 5-star tight end that's going to Alabama next year. This is a school that's produced Ian Book, who is Derek Carr's backup for the Saints. So I think he is. But, I mean, they produce a lot of talent, so it's going to be a very good challenge for the Titans on Saturday night. So we've got football 3 days this week. We've got sports almost every day this week. It's awesome. We're right back at it. The summer's over. Let's go.
Most intriguing game, Stan, and we have a lot of them that for a lot of different reasons. And when we have somebody like Mike Gutierrez sitting here and we start to talk, every game it seems to be intriguing. Your guys' thoughts on most intriguing game of the weekend?
So selfishly for me, it's Stockdale at North because of Adam Levinson. I want to see because they looked big on Friday.
Okay. They did,
and they moved the ball, and so I'm going, okay.
And they moved a free safety to quarterback. They moved a couple D linemen to running back. I mean, Levy loves to ground and pound on both sides of the ball, and I think he's going to have a lot of fun doing that. But that was actually my choice. My second choice, and I guess if we're going to go down that lineage, I think the most intriguing game is Paul Gola back in the district.
Yeah, 100%.
And going out to Pioneer Valley and really kind of seeing what he can do because, a stat that was thrown at me over the weekend was in 22 years as a head coach, Paul's had 4 losing seasons. None of them have come coaching a Kern High school district school. None of them came while he was at BHS. Yeah. So it'll be very interesting to see what he can do back in the public school aspect. And I know he absolutely loves it. We talked last night. Sleepless nights for every head coach, and I think even more sleepless for him because, he's back where I think he's meant to be.
Oh, 100%. I told him if he didn't pull it off just to stay over there and come home.
As long as Shelly says yes, I think he'd stay.
So, yeah, you have to stay at the beach. Okay.
That's rough.
So that's kind of a look of what Thursday is going to be like. A lot of discussion of what's going to be taking place Thursday night and Friday and Saturday. It's going to be very weekend-centric of what we've got going. We like this Monday show. Let's just kind of get going and get the week started and kind of get our creative juices flowing of what's coming down towards the end of the week. But Thursday, we'll really be focused on what's going to happen Thursday and Friday. How do you follow us on the Kern Network? Well, first of all, before you try to follow us, we want to thank our director, Alex. Thank you. Started to catch a tan on that neck back there because we're in the shade. She's out in the sun. But Alex, another fantastic job.
We're going to get her a canopy on Thursday.
X, Facebook, Instagram. It's all there for you in the Kern High Network. So get us, follow us, and start following us in the Huddle. We expect as much or more feedback now that we have 2 shows in the can. Third one coming up. Final last word from you and from you. Go.
I want to see what that is.
This right here?
That right there.
No, that's the same one we had, Mike. The jar of tough questions will become a staple. I'm already hearing. I'm hearing about global sponsorships already, just from that one segment that we did. But final thoughts on this first big week, Trevor. A lot going on.
You know, I was thinking about this on the drive over, and Mike Griffith used to post this video of a golden retriever jumping in a little wading pool with just unbridled enthusiasm. And he'd always say, "This is Trevor, week 1 of football." And, that was 8 years ago, and nothing's changed.
Very good.
Yep.
Love it, Stan.
I don't know, man. I have a saying in my office that everything always works out for Stan Greene, and I just think how
no pressure, T.
How lucky I am to have this job and to be able to do the things I do and get to see the things I see. And I mean, every day I'm just so lucky.
Appreciate it, Stan. Thank you, Stan Greene, Trevor Horn. I'm Vance Palm. That's Alex behind the camera. Hope you've enjoyed our second show of In the Huddle. Big one coming up this Thursday. Have a great week. Oh, do you have something?
Well, we had a question just came in.
Stop the presses. Stop the presses. When the director speaks, we were literally 2 seconds away from saying goodbye.
Pull the plug.
Woo.
What can we expect in the world of volleyball, Trevor? That is and that's not even the tough question. That's just a question.
Doesn't come from the jar of tough questions.
It comes from the internet world.
Now, does this question asker mean on the show, or is it a snapshot of the season?
I think probably overall from the 20,000-foot perspective. You know, we mentioned it last week, I think casually, about getting some volleyball coaches on here and some kids. And
I think that volleyball is as popular of a sport as anything right now, especially in the Kern High School District. And you've got 2 teams, like I said, that, you got a Liberty team that went to the D1 semifinals. You had Centennial and Stockdale. Then went to the D2 semifinals last year. And I think that you see so many pieces for both of those teams, all 3 of those teams coming back. 3 great head coaches. I think across the board that volleyball is going to be very competitive this year, and we will tackle it a lot, especially on the Monday show leading in, and then Thursday kind of showing highlights of Tuesday matches, especially when we get closer to league, just because a lot of schools are in tournaments in August and September, and so we'll hit a lot of those non-league games, but really get into the heart of it once league play starts. It's an exciting time, exciting to see tennis, cross-country, water polo, girls golf. We've got a lot of stuff coming up, and it's exciting. I mean, we got 9 months of action coming up.
Any more last gasp questions you want to toss in here, boss? Or are we good to go?
I think we're good to go.
Well, whomever that question came from, you got it in. Good for you. For Stan, for Trevor, I'm Vance and Alex. Hope you enjoyed In the Huddle. We'll see you Thursday, 2 p.m. with Greg Kerr with us.
Good job, fellas.
Who asked the question? Oh.